Hello, welcome to my section, Asynchronous online culture tellers called A-SOCuTe for teacher candidates of culturally and linguistically diverse students. My name is Jiyoon Yoon from Science Education, Curriculum and Instruction. As the student population becomes diverse in our classroom, the culturally inclusive science instruction is demanding for teacher education. Here's some past research studies that show why the culturally inclusive science instruction is required in teacher educations. The culturally inclusive science instruction integrates the learner's culture into the academic and social context of a science classroom to aid and to support science learning. Teacher education programs in U.S. need to emphasize or require the incorporation of multicultural education in their curricula. And also, the science teachers need to feel confident about meeting the learning needs of linguistically and culturally diverse learners. For the communication between the teacher candidates and the culturally and linguistically diverse students, this study is going to use a synchronous tool because a synchronous tool provides a learning space where learners can confront debatable ideas and faulty thinking in more objective and reflective ways. Asynchronous communication is the relay of information with a time lag. This is helpful because participants have plenty of time to formulate thoughts. And Melanie said, the web-based asynchronous communications are examples of structural resources having high potential to encourage individualizing learning with learner-specific pacing geared to the individual learner needs. The asynchronous environment creates an opportunity for online learners to become highly self-reflective. So the asynchronous tool will bring a lot of opportunity for individualizing learning with a high self-reflective time. The purpose of this study is to design asynchronous online culture tellers called A-SOCuTe, an innovative online instructional model, and measure its impact on teacher candidates' teaching self-efficacy and their abilities to develop culturally inclusive learning lessons. The culturally inclusive model has 4 components: inquiring, questioning, interacting, and developing. The inquiring is to following 5E learning cycle. 5E learning cycle has engagement, exploration, explanation, extension, and evaluation in developing lesson planning. So the 5E learning cycle has opportunity for the students to have their own inquiry. So the teacher candidates will follow the 5E learning cycle for inquiring. Once they make that 5E components in their lesson, then the second step is to develop and insert questions in each 5E. And then the most important part of the culturally inclusive model is interacting. The teacher candidate needs to include an activity where the students can experience other culture through an activity. So teacher candidate need to include an activity and an objective um, to learn through that activity. And once they have those activity, then finally the teacher candidate need to finalize their lesson plans with these four components. So the developing is part of like finalizing their culturally inclusive science lesson. There's some steps to develop culturally inclusive lesson for the teacher candidates. Um, the first step, add the multicultural diverse objectives into your existing simple lesson plan. Add one or more activities to learn the multicultural diverse objectives, and then respond the following and attach answers to your lesson plan. So once the teacher candidate develop the lesson plan, and then at the end they ask themselves what makes this lesson for multiculturalism and diversity, and what services did you or would you provide for non-English speaking students in this classroom. So the teacher candidate need to think in advance how they can help for the students who cannot speak English, and how they can make their lesson more multicultural, diverse based. I can show one example for the lesson plan. Here's some example. For the culturally inclusive diverse lesson. This lesson is for K-2 grade level, and topic is about rock formation and relate to the weathering. The objectives: students will discover characteristics of rocks and how rocks are affected by weathering. Students will determine the difference between mechanical and chemical weathering. And then when you see these yellow highlights, it is about multicultural objectives. Students will learn about different well-known rock formation from around the world. Students will study how different climates from around the world that affect the weathering. So students, not only inside the USA, but also the world, they're gonna think about. So this is the objectives, and then you will see 5E learning cycle: engagement, exploration, then explanation, elaboration, and evaluation. So the teacher candidate develop their lessons based on 5Es, and then insert questions. Engagement: where have you seen rocks in your town? Describe what rocks look like. How do you think rocks are formed? Something like that. So these are the questions the teacher candidate insert. And then when you see the yellow highlights, it is the additional activity that gives opportunity for teachers to experience other culture. Here it is. What type of rock formation are found in Korea? Please note this is an example of one country that could be used. If we were to actually teach this lesson, we would use many more countries. So this candidate bring Korean rock formation, so students can explore other culture. And then in elaboration, this candidate add another extension activity. how does weathering work in other country climates? Students will explore how Korean climate is humid and monsoonal. As a result, the land is shaped by chemical weathering with the amount of water washing over it. The mechanical weathering from amount of vegetation, that can grow in such a humid climate. So students also have a chance to check the weather in Korea, so they can have a connection between the rock formation and the weather in Korea. So this is an example how the culturally inclusive lesson look like. And then the research questions are to what extent does A-SOCuTe model affect teacher candidates' confidence in teaching science? To what extent does the A-SOCuTe model improve the teacher candidates' skills in planning culturally inclusive science lessons? So for these questions, here's the research design. The participants are 22 online graduate teacher candidates who are working in math and science STEM area from grade 7 through college level and have teaching practicum required as part of the course. Here's the procedure for the study. At the beginning of the study, the course syllabus explains how to use a mobile asynchronous tool. We used VoiceThread and how to set it up. The cultural professionals are the teacher candidate themselves who voluntarily signed up for sharing their traditional activities and culture related to science. Each communication section is limited to 7 or 8 participants to keep each section manageable. The teacher candidate take pre-self-efficacy test and start learning how to develop simple science lessons before the asynchronous chat sections with the culture professionals. To transform the simple lesson to culturally inclusive science lesson, the teacher candidate participate in asynchronous online culture chat section where 3 culture professionals develop to show culture, traditional games, and music, geography, and others of their own countries with videos and photos. Through the culture sections, the teacher candidate brainstorm more ideas about objectives and activities for their culturally inclusive science lessons. After they develop the culturally inclusive science lessons, they are asked to teach the lesson to their learners at practicum schools. At the end of the semester, they have a reflective discussion and post-self-efficacy test. Here's one example that one of my students made for VoiceThread asynchronous online chat discussion. Uh, he is the Mexican cultural professional. So he developed already this website, and then he designed this voice thread. So he introduced Mexican geography, dancing, culture, and art. I'm gonna play a little bit his voice thread site.
Hello and welcome to an overview of the Mexican American or Chicano culture. My name is Tom Rocap and I'm an outsider who's had the opportunity to teach Chicano, a very rich religious background. The geographical regions of Mexico are largely desert in the region that I circled. The Chihuahua Desert is the largest desert in North America. We have the Yucatan Peninsula of white sandy beaches, and their predominant um, claim to fame is.
Okay, so this is the cultural professional explanation. Once he upload this voice thread, then students participate in this voice thread, and then they post their idea how they gonna integrate this Mexican culture with their lesson topic. Let's hear from Melissa.
Thank you, Tom, for sharing your views on the Mexican and Chicano culture with us. I grew up in San Antonio area and teach in the same area, and I have a lot of students that have their families have originated from that area, and their cultures are very strong with them, and they're very proud of it. I've got a lot of students that will gladly share that with me, and I want to celebrate that with them as well. I do use some of the culture already in our classes. We're very strong in trying to help them learn the cognates. So what's the Spanish word for what we're trying to teach them in science? How are they familiar? And as much as possible, trying to connect that to the language from the areas. I know there's different versions of it coming from where they're at. But we also use, I was looking at the link that you provided us on the different games. I believe it's one of the links that you had about different popular traditional Mexican games. We really like what they call the lottery game, which is a version of the bingo. A lot of times we'll use it as a review with vocabulary words. We'll give them a picture or the word, and we'll give them the definition, and they have to match it. Just a fun way to kind of incorporate that. A lot of times, too, what I was also reading on there is there's one, I believe it's the bombetas, the little silk bags that explode as you throw them to the ground. We could use that for chemical reactions to talk about.
Okay, so this is just one example how the teacher candidate integrate Mexican culture with their science lesson. Okay. After this A-SOCuTe model, I try to have their self-efficacy improvement, and then also I want to know how much their lesson planning skill improved. So I took the pre and post self-efficacy test, and then I checked the t-value, and then find out the p-value, and the p-value is less than 0.0001, so that is less than the significance level. So I think the pre and post test are different, not totally, significantly different. And as you can see, the personal science teaching efficacy belief, this red is pre-test, and then this brown is post-test. So obviously you can see the post-test are improved in all questions. And then also this for outcome expectancy. The students' outcome expectancy also improve after this A-SOCuTe model. So that means this A-SOCuTe model is very effective to improve teacher candidates' self-efficacy in teaching science. And also through the reflective discussion, once they develop the final culture inclusive lessons, they post their ideas on the discussion board. When I analyzed their discussions, I found three big categories about this model. This model increase in confidence in teaching, and also this model helpful to connect science concept. Also, I'm sorry, they mention about some improvement for further culturally, linguistically diverse lessons. So here's some their discussion, especially this discussion talking about how this model improved their confidence in teaching. Here's just some teacher candidates quotes. This model was very refreshing to me and provided insight on teaching at the level of culturally linguistically diverse students. It reminded me of incorporating a multicultural component in the engagement or exploration portion. This looks like a lesson I would like to teach to all my students. Finally, seeing the lesson in fruition was very exciting. I'm a big fan of it. I think it was a struggle for some of us, but now I'm so happy. I'm happy. I like the use of cultures because it allows for differentiation in students. Here's they're saying for explaining this model, how much this model helpful to connect to science content. Overall, it has allowed me to teach science to a deep level, having tangible visual examples from other culturally inclusive lessons. During the engagement section, the students started asking each other. My students seemed to grasp the concept easily. And then here's just some comments for improvement. The only critique I have is that I found the instruction to be a little hard to follow. It took some time for me to develop the voice thread size for the participants. Hard to help each step of develop culturally inclusive lessons. As a cultural professional, it would be better to combine asynchronous and synchronous tools. So, as a result, I think the A-SOCuTe model has the opportunity to improve the teacher candidates' confidence for teaching science with multicultural diverse perspective. To accelerate student science achievement, American teacher education needs to enhance the quality of a teacher candidate by addressing diverse cultures. It is essential for a candidate to have a skilled need to serve diverse population to build inclusive curriculum for their future classroom. Here's the recommendations providing a direction of A-SOCuTe model with the details for participants, developing a professional development seminar for the cultural professionals about A-SOCuTe model before the study so that they can have time to develop the voice thread or some kind of communication site. Combining asynchronous and synchronous tools for better communication between cultural professionals and their participants. Studying with the multicultural diverse aspects continue after the teacher candidate begin their teaching careers. So not only their practicum, but also in their teaching career. Collecting a reflection and evaluation from the cooperative teachers on teacher candidates' ability to teach a multicultural diverse lesson in schools. Because this study, we only checked with the teacher candidates, but also their cooperating teachers need to provide some evaluation. That way, the data can be reliable and valid more. Replicating this study with teacher candidates from other institutions and from other courses taught by other instructors. So that way we can make the data more reliable and valid, and also we can improve more better culturally inclusive, diverse lessons with the online learning. If you have any other suggestions or ideas, just to let me know. Thank you so much for your listening. Bye.